decided what to do. Here I go. So sorry, Quilt. Hello there, it's tutorial time. I've had a couple of videos lately that were just sort of more pep talks. So today we're gonna make a project. And this is one of those things that snowballed into a project I didn't expect to become a snowball of a project. But I have become a tea drinker. I mean, I've always been kind of a tea drinker, but more so recently. And one of my things about making tea was that you have to let it cool down for too long, and I don't like that. I'm kind of impatient, I guess. I also found out that tea drinking countries, the UK, it really drives y'all crazy when Americans microwave their cup of water for their tea. Like, I mean, it gets hot regardless, right? So I don't know what difference it makes, but apparently that's like a big no-no in tea culture. So what I have been looking for is a teapot, and I found one. Isn't it so cute? It's a mid-century modern teapot. I got it at an estate sale. It says England. Sadler? Yeah, Sadler, England on the bottom. And I started using this just because I thought it was cute. And then I realized when you pour just one small cup of tea at a time, you don't have to wait for the cup of tea to cool down. And so now I understand the beauty of the teapot. Okay, but one problem that can happen when you're drinking like a pot of tea is that the tea in the pot starts to cool down while you're drinking the cups of tea. So of course that's why you need a teapot cozy. So I made one. I made this one. It fits over my teapot. I mean, it works better when it's on the flat surface. Isn't it cute? So I'm gonna make some more. I'm gonna show you how to make one. And then I'm going to cut up a quilt I made a long time ago to make some more. So I'm Nikki, this is Pin Cut Sew. So glad you're here. If you like this video by the end or right now, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. We have a great time around here. So let's get started on making some teapot cozies. If you do not yet have a teapot, I recommend you start shopping for one because I feel like tea is one of those hobbies that you just accidentally get really into, and before you know it, you have like all this tea paraphernalia and you're trying all these different companies of tea. If you have any tea tips for me or favorite tea companies or flavors, please leave them in the comments. But let's get started for now. Okay, so I have made this free pattern and put it in my shop. I'll give you a link to it. I didn't feel like drafting a pattern for every size of teapot, and that's why I'm not listing this for sale in my shop, and I just decided to make it free. And similar to my baby bib pattern, I'm going to show you how to use this line and this line to make it bigger or smaller depending on the size of your teapot, because teapots come in so many sizes. So I'm going to make another one like this just to show you how I did it. This is probably the simplest way. And then I made this quilt a really long time ago. When I was kind of newer to quilting, this color wheel quilt was really going around. Like everybody and their uncle was making this. I mean, their aunt maybe. Some uncles, I'm sure. And the thing about it is that it's pretty, but it's a really weird size for a quilt. It's not like big enough to actually cuddle under, but it's way too big for my preference for like a wall hanging. So it's just been languishing. So I am going to, don't get mad, cut this up. I'm going to make a tea cozy for my daughter's little teapot. Isn't this cute? She got this at an estate sale or Goodwill or something, hand painted in China. Cute. So hers is a little smaller than mine, and then I'm probably going to, so none of it goes to waste, I'm going to cut this up some more and make more cozies of the medium size and just list them in my Etsy shop. It won't be at the time that this video goes live, but when I have those done and listed, I will update the description until they're sold out. And I will make sure that I alert you in my communities tab and on Pin Cut Sew on Instagram and things like that. So hopefully this quilt can find some new life as teapot cozies. But anyway, let's get started. Alrighty, what you're going to need is some fabric for the outside and the lining, and also for the inside to keep it warm and insulated. I'm using wool batting. It's wool and cotton blend, I think, or maybe it's just wool bamboo. I don't know. Anyway, some kind of natural fiber or Insulbright would be good for this too. I don't love Insulbright because it makes things kind of crunchy, but it would keep it even more insulated and warm. So that's an option too. You can get that at online, or any local fabric store would have that. But I'm just going to use my scraps of natural batting. And in this case, I have these orphan quilt blocks, and I think I'm going to turn one of these into the front. I think I cannot decide. I think I'm gonna do this one. So what I need to do here is make this panel bigger so I can cut out of it. So let me work on that first. If you're just using a plain fabric, obviously you don't have to mess around with what I'm about to do. I think I'm gonna add this pink to the sides, top, and bottom. Let's see if I have enough. Ooh, or I can add this denim. Kind of like that too. I just chopped my pattern. Okay, if your teapot is smaller than mine, this is what you need to do. When you're designing a pattern for something that's fat like this and not just like, you know, two-dimensional, you have to account for the circumference. So the reason this pattern looks so much larger than my teapot is because it has to fold around the entire body of it, if that makes sense. So for Layla's teapot, her teapot is quite a bit smaller than mine. So if I want it, but it actually is big enough this way. It's about the same this direction. Hers just needs to be shorter. So if I were making a teapot for her, let me cut out this pattern real quick. Not a teapot cover. I would simply slash on this line and I would reposition the paper so that, let's start with maybe an inch overlap and see if that would be tall enough, and that would probably be perfect for her. So when I make Layla's in a minute, I'm going to alter my pattern like this. Then if she needed it to be shorter, put a piece of tape there. Okay, now if you needed it to be smaller this way, you can simply fold this part under a little bit or cut some off. So this is going to be on the fold of my fabric, so it will be like this, you know. So if you need it to be smaller, you could even just, you could fold this in. If you need it to be longer this way, you can just place this farther from the fold of your fabric, and then you could, instead of making it shorter, you can make it taller by separating these. This is called the slash and spread method of pattern alterations. Then, so that you don't waste time and fabric, this is a prototype. I just cut 2 out of my patterning paper, but you could use printer paper also. And I simply sewed them together, and I tried this on my teapot until I got it right. I just dug this out of the trash. So this is a good way to sort of play with an existing pattern to fit your needs. But just for your reference, I do feel like this teapot is probably somewhat standard. So let's see. The circumference of my teapot is about 22 inches with the spout. So if your teapot is similar to that, then the pattern should work as is, but this is how you would alter it if you needed to. Okay, so let me take this pattern piece. This was my prototype. Your pattern that you print off from my site, it will have like nice words and things on it, don't worry. Okay, and I created this panel. This is a great use of an older orphaned block that I love, and now I'll actually get to see it on the daily. So I'm gonna fold this in half. I'm going to place my pattern here, and I'm gonna cut it out. So what I meant is, if you need to make your teapot wider, you would place this farther from the edge. If you need to make it smaller, place it overhanging the folded edge. But mine, I already know is perfect, so I'm just gonna go for it. Oh, a little too thick for my rotary blade. That does not work. So there is my teapot front. Cute. I also need to cut a teapot back. So here's my old denim skirt I'm using. I'm going to cut another one. This is what you would do if you're just using a single fabric, not a quilt block like me. But I gotta be extra. Okay, and then I want to cut out a lining, which I think I'm gonna use this for. I'm gonna give it an iron. This was a thrifted cotton shirt that I just made Winnie that dress out of in the last video. Now I'm going to cut 2 of my lining. Can I fit? Okay, and now I need 2 of my batting. If you are new to quilting and have a hard time with things shifting around, you could sew your front, like baste your front and back to a piece of batting and then cut around it if that's helpful for you. If you are not new at this though and you feel confident, then cut 2 pieces of your batting also. This is a good use for batting scraps. Okay, Okay, we're ready to sew. I do need to go pick out some kind of ribbon or trim for the pole tab. Where did my cozy go so I can show you? Oh, for this part. So let me go dig around and find something for that while I get a new camera battery. Okay, I actually found some leftover like binding. I think I'm gonna try to make this work for a tab. I'm gonna open this up and fold the edges in like this, and then fold it again and make a tab. Okay, so what I need to do is organize my pieces. If you want to run a basting stitch around your front and back pieces to hold your batting in place, you go right ahead. If you are more experienced and want to skip that like me, also go right ahead. So then I'm going to fold my tab and place it at the top, pin it, and then place my back piece right side down, and then my final batting piece on top. Or of course you will have a basted piece, and so you're just placing your front and back right sides together with batting on the back of each side. And I'm going to clip these together. So this is one of those projects you might want to get your your walking foot out for. If you do not know what that is, it's a special foot contraption for your sewing machine. Your machine might have come with one, or you can order a pretty inexpensive one. And it sort of just keeps all of these fat layers moving along. So if you've never quilted before, a walking foot's going to change your life. If you keep trying to sew like thick things and everything keeps shifting, then a walking foot is what you need. And I have a whole video all about it, how to install it and what it's for on my channel. So I will link you to that because it's super helpful. But if you don't have one, it's okay. You can probably tackle this small amount with just your regular foot. So now I'm going to go sew around this in about a 3/8 of an inch seam. Alrighty, so I have my front and back sewn together. My fabric is pretty bulky, so I'm just gonna trim away a little bit of it. Not gonna trim away around the tab though. I wouldn't want it to unravel and come undone. Now I can flip it. Pretty darn cute. Oh, that's so cute. Okay, so next all I need to do is do the same thing with my lining. But this time I'm going to leave an opening in the top for turning. So I like to put 2 pins where I'm going to stop and start so that I know, do not forget what I'm doing. So same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and leave my walking foot attached to save myself some time. So I'm going to sew here and leave this open. Okay, so I'm going to keep this wrong side out and this is right side out. I'm going to slide this inside of the lining, match up the side seams, and then match it up all the way around. Ow, stab myself. Okay, and then all the way on the flat sides too, making sure if you didn't baste your batting in place, then make sure that everything is smooth. Okay, so I'm going to go stitch this all together all the way around. Okay, almost done. Since the bottom is curved, you have these little corners here. So when you're sewing, you will need to like pivot right there. And then when you're done sewing, we're just going to clip it almost to the stitching, pretty much right where your seam is. Okay, then you can go ahead and turn it right side out through the opening. And before we shove the lining inside, we're going to turn under the opening as if we had sewn it, and I'm going to go edge stitch this close. I don't need to do it by hand because it's not going to show. It's on the inside. I'm going to put this on the inside, make sure all my edges are smooth, and then because mine especially is thinner than my outside, it always wants to roll to the outside. So I'm going to go press it into submission and then top stitch all the way around. As I press it, I like to finger press also and place pins so that none of my lining is poking out of the bottom. All right, I gave it a final press with steam, and here's my finished cozy. Let's try it on my teapot. So cute. Okay, now it is Layla's turn, and this is sort of a different way to make this without having to cut out a lining. Let's see what I can manage. All right, I think I already altered my pattern sufficiently, so I'm not going to sew these together into a prototype. I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. Yeah, maybe I will. Don't need to be perfect. This is just for a fit check. All right, and now I can try it on Layla's teapot. Cute. I actually think that fits pretty good. Should I make it a little shorter? I'm gonna make it just a tad shorter. Okay, and then that should be perfect. All right, to do this using this quilt, she told me which section she wants, but now I do not remember. I think it was this. Ooh, this is like a fun creative project. Okay, I'm going to fold this on this line. Oh my gosh, I've never cut up a quilt before. Should I use only... I kind of want to do it like this. Yes, that's gonna be cute. Okay, decided what to do. Here I go. So sorry, quilt. Ah, cute. Okay, what should I do for the back? Should I use the same section going this way? I really do want to try to get as much use out of this as possible. So yeah, I think now I'm gonna fold it here. Also cute. Okay, so I'll go back now. All right, for this one, I am going to bind the raw edge like a quilt binding instead of cutting a lining. So do I want to do that when it's already sewn together, or do I want to do it first? I actually think I want to do it first. It'd be really nice if I already had something that would work. Let me go check. I think these white dots are good. Oh, do I have enough? Barely. Okay, I'm gonna cut this in half. Quilt binding is very easy to do by machine, so I don't want to hand sew. So normally you would sew your binding onto the front of your quilt and then hand stitch it to the back. But for the machine version, we're going to stitch it to the back. It's a little bit curved and my binding is not on the bias, but it's gonna be okay. So I'm gonna stitch it to the back like this, and then I'll show you how to stitch it onto the front. Okay, now I'm simply going to fold it over to the front side and edge stitch it into place right along here. Super easy. So I'm going to trim those flush. So this one, obviously, it will have raw edges on the inside. That's just sort of the nature of sewing with already made quilts. But it won't bother me. If it bothers you, then use the other method. Okay, I'm not gonna put a tab up here because I have a different idea. I want to find some yarn and make like a matching pom-pom. So I'm gonna go ahead and just sew these together. One is bigger than the other. That's weird. Nothing that can't be chopped off. Cute. Oh, that's so... All right. Ooh, my son just came home with Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna go eat that and then I'll come back and make a pom-pom. Okay, you might be wondering why I'm holding a fork. Did you know you can make a pom-pom with a fork? I used to have pom-pom makers in 3 sizes and I must not have kept them, which makes sense because I have not used them since I was teaching kids sewing. So here's what you do. I also just cleaned out my yarn bin and so I don't have that much yarn. I think the pink matches pretty good. So here's what you do. You put a length of yarn in the center tine of the fork. Then you start wrapping and you wrap your little heart out till it's super, super full. The more you wrap it, the fuller your pom-pom is going to be. I wanted it a little bit bigger and I found a serving fork, but my serving fork only has 3 tines and so there's no center tine, but that's okay. Okay, that's probably good. I'm gonna chop that off. Now you're going to bring either side of the ends together to one side through the tine of the fork. See that? So it's through both ends. And you're going to tie it as tightly as you can in a knot. Okay, I'm going to leave these ends long so I can sew it onto my what is this called? A teapot cozy. So then you can remove it from the fork and you can snip the loops apart. The sharper the scissors, the better. Because if the tips of your scissors aren't very sharp, this becomes harder. Okay, so now you can see it looks a little bit weird. It just needs a haircut. So you're going to start trimming the long pieces until it resembles a nice fluffy ball. Sort of like trim till it hurts, really. Almost there. There. Pretty good. I have some long pieces down here because I was holding. Let's trim those. I'm always afraid I'm going to over trim, but I think usually I under trim. So taking a little more time on this one. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. I'm going to thread a needle. If I have one with a big enough eye. Okay, this is huge, but it'll do. So I'm one at a time. I'm going to thread the ends onto this doll needle. I'm going to right into the center, poke it through. This is also how I put pom-poms on hats. This is why we keep pliers in the sewing room. Okay, and now I can simply tie the pom-pom to the bottom and pull it tight to the cozy. One more for good measure. This is wool yarn too, so my teapot, if it's really hot, the yarn will not be affected. I might as well leave a cute bow in there, don't you think? Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Let's try it on Layla's teapot. Perfect. Such a little cutie. I hope this has been a fun project for you. Don't forget to go grab your freebie pattern from my website, and then hopefully you can make your friends and yourself some teapot cozies. And don't forget to leave your tea recommendations in the comments. I would love those. And also, when I finish making more cozies for my Etsy shop out of this quilt, I will let you know in the communities tab. And I'll see y'all soon. Bye.